Tonight, we focused on what really happens when you love and fear God. It's worth finding out.
Torah is one with God. As it says in Kabbalah, Torah and God are absolutely one. Torah is one with God. How is it possible that Torah on her own is not strong enough, so to speak, to ascend, to be fused with the core godliness of the 10 divine emanations, what we call Kabbalistically the spheros, How is that possible? She's not even more powerful than that. Torah is one with God. Torah, God, the supernal will, God's wisdom, God's will, all one package deal. And that's the source of creation. So everything that flows from Torah, God, God's wisdom, God's will, creating all the spiritual worlds as well as our physical reality. Torah's higher than all of them. She's a source. She's one with the source. She is the source. God looked in the Torah and created the world. So how could it be that if you learn Torah without love and fear, it's not strong enough? It's not going to ascend. It can't go up to God, and it's earthbound until you do it right. Do it right, meaning do it with love and fear. And then when you do it with love and fear, only then can the Torah ascend to be fused with the core godliness, with these 10 spheros, 10 divine emanations in the supernal worlds. Why can't Torah just do it on her own? Come on, it's Torah. Torah is surely greater and more powerful than any of this. That's the question. And we explain that, of course, Torah innately starts off higher, but then that Torah has to get very constricted. It has to wiggle into this world. And everything that gets into this world, or even going down the evolutionary ladder of all the spiritual worlds before entering into this world, has two types of constrictions. The first type is what we would call symptom, which we translate as constriction, which means the light gets more and more minimized. Not that the light's less there, not less there, but it's less apparent. It's getting more and more small because the world can't handle a bigger light. That's the first issue that makes this energy so shrunken. The second issue is there are layers and layers of concealment cloaking that light. That was actually what today's Tanya was discussing. Layers and layers of concealment. Sarah was speaking about it from a different angle, from transgression, but a similar concept. But anything that gets into this world has both of these issues. And anything on a higher world also has both of these issues, but to a lesser degree. And all creation has both of these issues. One, there's a constriction, a minimization of the ability of that light to shine. And two, that light is cloaked. It's under a lot of heavy garments, so you can't really see it penetrate. And anything in this physical world has the ultimate degree of both. The ultimate degree of a minimization of light, we call symptom, constriction, and the ultimate degree of concealments of cloaks of garments until every energy that comes into this world has to go through the garment called klipas noiga. A klipa, a shell, a barrier, a husk, noiga. The light can penetrate it. We can see the glimmer of light through the husk, but it's a husk. That's everything that gets into our physical world. So yes, Torah starts off higher than high, beyond all of creation, absolutely one with God. Torah, God, supernal will, supernal wisdom, all one and all the source of all of creation. But that's not the Torah I'm learning in this world. The Torah I'm learning in this world got shrunken, constricted, covered over, shrunk, covered over, shrunk, covered over. Till it gets into this world, it's so weak. It's so small. Well, so it's not the real Torah. I have like a watered down version of the story, a knockoff model. No. It is the real version. It is the real Torah. And everything that's above in all of its glory, that's the source of creation, is actually found in my very, very shrunken version. Like we gave the parable of if you have a teensy tiny, so small you can't even identify what it is, but you put it on your tongue and it's apple. So small. You wouldn't even have known it was an apple looking at that little microcosmic dot. But when you put it on your tongue, it's completely 100% apple. It's not a watered down version of apple. It's not, taste vaguely reminds me of what once was apple. It's a complete apple. It's just very small. That's Torah. It's complete Torah. I have everything, but very small. So in her shrunken, weakened state, she doesn't have the energy to ascend to these worlds. But with your love and fear, as we'll explain, she does. Actually, we said, when you learn Torah, problem number 2 just got knocked out the window. Because all of those constrictive barriers, all of the coverings, the cloaks, the klipas noiga, that whole situation is transformed to godliness by the power of the commandment. So we don't have any of those problems. We have no barriers. They're all consumed with godliness. But problem number one still remains. Problem number one was she's weak. Symptom, constriction, 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 constriction. The godliness is there, but it has to be there in a fashion that it can shine and the world can continue to exist. So the godliness of Tyra, for that to shine and the world to exist, it gets major small. And that's why it got so small, it became part of a physical reality. Tyra talks about physical things, jealousy and transgressions, sin, lying, stealing, physical items, cows and donkeys and sheep, people doing wrong or people doing right. It's all very physical. Torah itself is very physical. It's ink on parchment, and it's a certain number of letters and words and sentences. So it all became very physical enmeshed because it's in this world. That means it's very small. That's the idea, that number one problem of constriction. Constriction till you get into this world and it's physical. And we said it's not only physical, it's corporeal. Corporeal meaning it's such a level of physicality, you don't even feel there's God there. You know there's God there, but you don't even sense it. That's what happened to Torah. To be discussing very physical and oftentimes low subjects, to itself be a limited number of letters, of words, of sentences, to be ink on parchment, it's a very, very far journey for God's will and wisdom that's the source of creation of all the worlds. But that's where Torah is. So she cannot ascend. She does not have that power. And if you learn Torah, like, by the way, guys, we are right now learning Torah. We're doing it. And what we're tapping into is the source of creation of all the worlds, but so shrunken. All the barriers are removed. We're studying Torah. But that innate constriction is absolutely there. So shrunken that right now, if you are learning Torah without loving and fearing God, your Torah is earthbound. Your Torah does not have the muscles to ascend. To have those muscles to ascend, your Torah needs to be done with love and fear. I hope we all have love and fear. Let's remember this one. Right now, it's happening right now. We're learning Torah. Quick, turn on that love and fear of God. Why? Why is that so necessary? Because love and fear of God is innately spiritual. It's a spiritual feeling. It's a spiritual reality. The Torah I study has become physical by all the constrictions and constrictions and concealments and constrictions of this physical world. So the Torah became physical to get into this world. But my love and fear is a spiritual reality. When I'm learning Torah with love and fear, the love and fear, the spirituality of the love and fear release the Torah from being a physical reality to becoming back to what she really is, a spiritual reality. It's a very interesting concept because it almost is like exactly the opposite of how we would process things, which, okay, no big deal. So we're processing wrong. How I would understand it, I don't want to say we, I don't want to say everyone else has my mistakes, but how I would understand it is I'm doing this great, glorious, amazing, wonderful thing. I'm doing God's will. I'm connecting to God. I'm learning his Torah. Nothing better than that. That's amazing. And there's even that icing on the cake. I'm doing it with love and fear. So like the cake, the real substance of what I'm doing is studying Torah. And the extra that makes it even nicer is I have these extras going on, these modifications going on, extras called love and fear. What the Alter is saying is it's exactly the opposite. The love and fear is like the content. The love and fear is the spiritual energy. Because the love and fear of the spiritual energy, they're connected to your Torah. So your Torah now absorbs their quality and also has that spiritual energy, has that spiritual status, and therefore can ascend. Now, why? Why is it that if I'm studying Torah with love and fear, because my love and fear is spiritual, my Torah becomes spiritual, and then my Torah has a power. It's released from its physical bondage, so to speak. It has the power to ascend to the supernal worlds, to be fused with the core godliness of all those worlds, which is the 10 divine emanations, the 10 spheres themselves. Why? Like, what's the link between the spirituality of my love and fear and then Torah becoming spiritual? Well, it's very simple, actually. The love and fear are the reason why you're studying. Meaning, we might not be thinking of it that way. We might be thinking of it like, oh, I'm sitting in a class. Oh, she keeps talking about love and fear. I better start feeling some love and fear. This is really important. And of course, it might not be in a class, and it might be, and it's not only with Torah, it's anything else you do to serve God. But you're doing the thing, or even before you do the thing, you're like, wait, I got to turn on that love and fear button. I got to attach wings to my commandment, attach wings to my Torah study. I got to feel love and fear. So by us, the Torah, the mitzvah, that's, what's pulling the motor. That's the motor pulling the train. That's the main thing. And I'm attaching the wings of love and fear because I know I'm supposed to, and it's really great. But the Alter Rebbe says, but that's like almost like a little backwards thinking. Really, the real inner dynamics is you're serving God because of love and fear. The reason why you're doing that commandment, though, of course, it's not overt and on the surface, and that's why you're turning it on. But the real reason why you do anything is because you love God and because you fear, you have awe and nullification to God. Right now, you're in my class. I mean, it's late. You might have dirty dishes. You might actually still be making supper. I won't ask any personal questions. You might have cleaned up from supper and you're exhausted. You might have had a long day. You might have gotten rained on in the course of the day. Like, lots of things happen. And you're so holy, you're so righteous, you so love and are nullified to God, you go to a class. That is why you're learning, or anything else you do to serve God. You have a relationship. You love him and want to strengthen this connection. That's why you're doing it. You fear, you're nullified, you're in awe of him, and therefore you make space for him in your life. That's why you're doing it. So even though in our almost superficial version of the story, our, Western world, focus on the externals version of the story, we're doing it and then remember and then pull out love and fear. But the core really was the love and fear the whole time. Because the love and fear is really why I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So when I'm turning on that button and I'm attaching those wings and I'm reminding myself to love and fear, I'm pulling on an energy that already exists inside of me. I don't have to now, let me create love. Let me create fear in 5 seconds or less. Like, how do you create love and fear like that, like on command? Because we love and fear God. That's why we're doing this. So when we say create, turn on, focus, what we mean is take that love and fear that I have, and I know I have it because I'm serving, and pull out that emotion that I'm consciously feeling it. And when I pull out that emotion that I'm consciously feeling it, it has the power to connect and infuse my Torah or whatever else is really the product of this real love and fear, and elevate that thing to the level of the love and fear spirituality, and being released from the physical confines, being bigger than that and spiritualized, the Torah or whatever else you're doing for God can soar to the spiritual world that is on the level of that love and fear. As we discussed, if it's a natural love and fear, the third world, the world of Yetzirah, formation. If it's an intellectually created love and fear, the second world, the world of creation, of Bria. Does this resonate? Can you think in yourself when you are doing, again, the Rebbe here is talking about Torah study, but it applies to any service of God. As the Rebbe was going to say, it also applies to prayer, it applies to any service of God. Can you think of this process in yourself? Can you think of the turning on the love and fear, or the awareness that I love and I fear? Because if I didn't, why would I be doing this? Why? Any thoughts on that? Any sense in yourself? Does that resonate? That awareness that I'm always loving and fearing. That's why I'm doing. If I didn't love and fear, why would I be learning right now? Why would I make time to pray? I mean, I'm not in school. Nobody's giving me a check on my chart. Nobody's asking. Nobody cares. Why am I taking the time to pray? Why am I making a blessing before I eat? Why am I conscious that the food has to be kosher? Why am I getting dressed in a modest fashion, modest clothing? Why am I doing that? Because I have a relationship with God, because I love God. I want to connect, because I have an awe, a fear, an nullification to God. And I want to make myself a vehicle that he can fill my space and not that I'm obstructed from him. That's why I'm doing everything in my life, because of my love and fear of God. So when we're talking here about the love and the fear and the love and the fear and the love and the fear, like, how do we do that? Someone asked me that at the end of last class. I was not able to answer then. But we can do that because we have it. We have the love and fear. So what is required is to stop and focus, to feel the love and the fear that of course we have. Because if we didn't have it, why would we be doing this service? Has someone tried that? In the past weeks, we've been talking about this many, many times. The love and the fear and the wings and this level of wing and that level of wing. And if you do it this way, it goes to this world. If you do it this way, it goes to this world. If you don't do it at all, it's stuck here. We've been talking a lot about this. Has someone tried to implement this idea of really, at least in something, making sure they do it with love and with fear of God? Okay, so I have a challenge for you. I think that would be a great experiment if all of us could try for the coming week. If it's such a wonderful thing, you can continue, but at least to try to think now of one thing that you do regularly for God, not like if it happens, then it probably won't happen. Or something that not like lighting the Shabbos candles that happens once a week. Maybe something like giving charity that you do every day, or prayer that you do every day, or maybe the whole morning prayer is too long. If you pray the afternoon prayer, which you're supposed to do morning and afternoon, that's much shorter. So the afternoon prayer, or the Shema you say before you go to sleep at night, or before you make blessings on food, or when you make blessings after food, or the blessing you make after you use the washroom. Pick something that happens in your life on a regular basis. And for that one thing, you're going to commit just for a week. Make like signs all over whatever you look at, like on your computer or something, or your phone, pop-ups. I really want to feel the love and fear I have for God when I do this. Because we all have that love and fear. And the work is stopping and remembering. So let's all try to think of something. I'm obviously joining, so I have to think of something as well. Something I do regularly that's I can commit when I'm doing that. I want to stop and feel my love and fear of God, and then do it with that love and fear. And remind myself why. It's very simple. Why am I doing this? Because I love God. Why am I doing this? Because I don't want to lose that relationship with God. So there you have love and there you have fear. Why am I doing this? I want to connect. You've got love. Why am I doing this? I don't want to lose my connection. You've got fear. You've got awe. You've got nullification, submission. If you have something, I mean, if you want to pick more, of course, you're quite free to pick more. But at least one thing you can do this with, raise your virtual hand.
I wanted to say when I take on these kind of things, I'm just like a story I heard today about my 2.5-year-old Anikel Zalman. that he was all set to give up his sussy. And he made a concert tonight when he changed his mind. So he didn't remember what he committed to. So
Like, I don't
I'm,
want to do this.
I'm feeling like Zalman.
You're feeling the pressure. You're feeling the pressure. You know what? Sometimes I feel that, but now I don't, because it's so exciting with everything we're learning of how powerful love and fear is, and the reassurance I just gave you that you have love and fear. Because if you didn't, why would you be doing this? Why would you be doing any of the things you're doing if not that you love Hashem? And that's why you want to do what he wants. And you fear Hashem, and that's why you want to do what he wants. So we have it. That's the beauty of this experiment. That's the beauty of what the Alter Rebbe is telling us here. We don't have to go create a love we don't have and create a fear we don't have. That's intimidating. That's scary. Oh, what am I committing to? A whole week? Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I'm going to have to spend so much time being spiritual. No. You have to more remind yourself before you do something and do it. I will share, though I said no one had to, or I didn't want anyone to feel they have to, because, but I will share the two. I actually picked two because I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm glad I have a push to make sure I do this. So one of the two things I would like to do, and again, obviously it might not happen. It might not happen all 7 days, but I would like to stop and feel my love and fear before I say the blessings in the morning, the Birchos HaShachar, the blessings in the morning. And the reason why I thought that would be a really nice idea is because that's the beginning of the whole day, so to speak. That's the foundation. As we make those blessings, just to start off my day feeling my love and fear of God, it sounds like a really wonderful way to start my day. I'm excited what the day's going to look like after that. And I also want to do it before I pray the afternoon service, the Mincha prayer, because again, it's just nice. I of course would like to do it in the morning, but that's much longer. So it might be, I might lose it over the course and space out. Surprisingly enough, of course, but Mincha's short. So to imagine praying with love and fear for the duration it takes me to pray the afternoon prayer seems very doable and very exciting to think of lifting up this service that way. So to me, it's exciting. Now, I might say something different a week from now when we discuss it, but to me, this is exciting opportunity. So hopefully everyone also feels like me and not like Sarah, or feels like Sarah and me combined. You got the fears, you got the, oh no, what am I committing to? But again, you're committing to something that you have anyway. How can I guarantee you have it anyway? Because that's why it works. That's why it's wings. That's why it elevates what you're doing. Because it is the reason why, even though we're not consciously, and I can accept that no one before they clicked on their Zoom link took a few minutes to feel how much they love God and fear God and therefore want to learn his Torah tonight. But that's why you did it. I know. Why else would you be doing this? There's more entertaining ways, more relaxing ways, more industrious ways, perhaps. You might spend the hour, but you're choosing to learn God's Torah because you love God and you want that relationship, because you fear God and want to nullify yourself and give him all that space inside of you. So you have the love and fear. And when we take something, you don't have to do two, take one thing for a week and really commit to yourself and make big signs and notices. Trust me, I will. Big signs all over the place, wherever you're going to encounter that thing you're committing to, I think it'll feel really good to really have that experience of this ascension, of this really godly experience that you're the reason why you're doing it, which always is the love and fear. You're going to really feel. That's going to be amazing. That's going to completely transform the act. And of course, have all these benefits that we're discussing. Any other thoughts on this? Any tantruming 2-year-olds inside, or excited people, or anything else? Everyone understand how they're going to do this? Everyone's convinced they do have the love and fear and have the sense of commitment to how they're going to use it this week. Any other thoughts on this?
Question. Is it can be just love, something else more fear, or could be two things that just love?
No, we really want both. That's a great question, Chava. And it's very interesting how Chava said it, because honestly, most of us have a stronger affinity to one or to the other, meaning most people more naturally love or more naturally fear. Most people just more naturally have one of the emotions as like the stronger wing, just like most people are just either much better with their right hand or much better with their left hand. And that's how God made us. So similarly, most people either very naturally can love and the fear is a little harder to feel, or more naturally can fear and the love is harder to feel. But we actually need both, because these are wings. And as we learned and we'll discuss, a bird can't fly on one wing. So we really need both emotions. So they don't have to be equally strong. It's fine if one is much more dominant than the other, but on some level we need both. So what we're doing can really ascend and soar very high to the spiritual source, the spiritual world that's associated with that emotion you're feeling. And again, you can say, but I don't think I love, I just sort of know I don't want to get in trouble, so I wouldn't do this. Or I love God and I want to serve him. Fear, I don't even relate to the word fear. I'm a 21st century American. I don't even know what fear means. So it's very normal that we say that, but actually we do have both inside of ourselves, because they're almost wedged in each other. Like we'll start with love, because for most people nowadays, I think love is more natural than fear. It used to be the opposite. If you go back, 100 and more years, the easiest emotion someone had in their spiritual journey was fear of God. And then they progressed to a love of God. Nowadays, for most people, I think it works a bit the opposite. As I see it, most people more naturally can love God, can feel loved by God, can feel God's warmth and glow and kindnesses and miracles, feel loved and loved. And the sensation of fear is just a little awkward for us. I think it's just part of our culture. But as Tanya explains it, if you love God, which of course we do, embedded in your love is fear. What's the fear? The fear of losing that relationship. Like embedded in every love is fear. Anyone human that you love, on some level, you have a fear of losing that relationship. So there is that fear that's very naturally there, and we just have to stop and tune into it, to find it inside of ourselves. Again, the sense of maybe it would be well, I love God and that's why I'm doing it, but I'm careful with the details, and that care with the details might be coming from a sense of nullification, a sense of awe, a sense of fear, a sense of wanting to make sure it's done right. Because I know if I do it right, the connection happens, and if I don't, it doesn't. So that's the fear-based energy inside of us. So if you have one, the other one is lurking somewhere there, and you have to just search and find. Any other thoughts on this? Any other questions?
Can you say that the intent could be, I want to have a relation, I'm doing this because I want to connect with you, and I don't want to be separated from you? Is that
That's love and fear.
Yeah.
If you feel you want to connect, that's you're feeling your love. And if you feel you don't want to disconnect, you're feeling your fear.
So those thoughts could be the thoughts that you're putting into your, because I've been putting a lot of connected with the Tanya. I feel like for davening, I really consciously think I just want to connect with you. That's what I want. This is what I want. So to add that piece of, I don't want to be separate.
Exactly. When you're thinking, I really want you and I really want a relationship with you, and that's why I'm davening, that's why I'm praying, what you're articulating in your mind is your love of God. And I don't want to lose that connection. And that's your fear of God. So what From is saying also, she's saying it as thoughts, and I'm expressing it as emotions. If it's hard for you to get to the space of feeling, then definitely, as From is saying, think it. Meaning ultimately, we would like you to feel it. But we learned last chapter, the 60 paths in this ascending to God is the conscious thought, because a conscious thought, From is saying, I'm thinking, I'm not saying she's feeling, she said she was thinking. I'm thinking I want this relationship. And now I'm thinking I also don't want to lose this relationship. That thought, which is a thought, is connected to a feeling that's recessed in your heart. Because for the thought to be true, it's really an emanation of a feeling. But if I don't feel the feeling, I can think the thought, and the thought also is wing-like because it's really coming from a feeling that's buried deep in my heart. Because that's the only validity to that thought is the feeling I have for God, my love of God and my fear of God. So that's very helpful, and maybe makes it a little more like, oh yeah, I could do that. Anyone else? Any other thoughts or questions on this?
Yeah. Can I say something?
Sure,
please?
Dottie.
30 years ago, I was in B'nai Reuven, and I was learning about Yiddishkeit, and I saw Frumik Shulik davening, and I still in my mind, it's engraved in my mind. I watched her daven, and I thought, this is what it looks like to connect to Hashem. Had little ones on her by her ankles and her knees, and she was davening with all her heart. And her example was so important because I needed to see what it meant to be close to Hashem. And Frumik Shulik was, from my watching her and absorbing what she was doing, was pivotal in my growth. So from seeing somebody else doing it can help you get there. Thank you.
Beautiful. Fruma, we don't even have to see you blushing because we just see a white name on black. So you're totally safe. That's beautiful, Dottie. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And it's
Thank you, Daddy. That's really it's a beautiful the truth is when you think that in your mind, you do feel. You can't not feel when you have that thought. Yes, I do feel, because when we do things rote and we don't think, then we can't bring feelings. So it's an automatic. It's like when you have those thoughts, it brings the feelings.
It was beyond beautiful. It was like I want to be where this lady is. I want to get there. It's so fabulous, So, anyways, we help each other. We're like a sisterhood.
that's what it says by Mashiach, that we're going to look at everyone we're going to see shining in such beautiful ways, everyone. And we're going to have, like Dottie had, that feeling of, I want to like her, and I want to that like her, or that like him, or that like her. Not in a way of feeling bad and feeling bad about ourselves, but exactly like Dottie's expressing, like, wow, that's so beautiful, and I want to get there too. And I'm propelled by this person's example. I see it's doable. She's pretty human, and look how she's davening. Look how she's talking to someone else and smiling and being so friendly. Look how she's so warm and generous. Look how she's so studying and really enjoying learning, and everything we're going to see around us, everyone's beauty is just going to help inspire our own. So I'm so happy, Dottie, that you had that experience to see Fruma in shul and to be moved to want to daven like her. I actually had that once with a student of mine. I will not say her name because she's not here, and I don't know if she would feel comfortable, but I definitely had that experience. I had a student once in high school, and I was so inspired by the way this girl davened. It really made me relook at my own davening, because I felt her absolute sincerity in her davening. It was so beautiful to see. So yes, that's very powerful, seeing someone else doing it more right. Really, really special. All right, so let us breathe inside. So we were saying that, again, we had two problems. Issue number one, got to deal with. Issue number two, the cloaks, the constrictions, the klipas nega barrier. The commandment took care of that, but we still got issue number one. But when we do it right, when we do it for God's sake, which means we're feeling this love and fear, and that's why we're doing it, and that's lishma, that's for the sake of God. Well, then the intention becomes engarbed in those letters of speech, of prayer, of Torah study. Because she's the source of that. As we're saying, why is the intention, why is the feeling or the thought that's expressing that latent feeling, why is it so powerful? Because it's the source of what I'm doing. It really is. Why else am I doing it? That because of her, because of this love and fear of God, that's why he's speaking these words. And why would he be doing it otherwise? Again, some situations, like we said, or what if someone's studying in school and they're studying for a test, or I don't know, they're in school, they're their child, their parents forcing them to daven. Okay, not so clear. But none of that's any situation in our life. Anything we do for God, we are free players. We could not make a blessing. No one's going to stop us. We could not pray. No one's going to stop us. We could not do this right or that right. We're adults. So anything we're doing, in essence, we're doing because we love and fear God. So when you pull out that love and fear that you obviously have, hey, of course it so powerfully impacts what you're doing. It's really the reason why you're doing it. Lachain, therefore, hima'ale osam, because the love and fear is the source of this action, it elevates them ad mikoma, until the spiritual level of this quality of love and fear. That's just Yitzira, as we've discussed in the core 10 divine emanations in the world of the formation, Yitzira, the third world, if it was a natural love and fear, or even higher in the 10 core emanations, the spheros of the second world, of the world of Bria, the world of creation, if it was an intellectually created love and fear, based on what was that quality of intention. Was it an intellectually created love and fear, world 2, Bria? Or was it a natural? You're a Jew, you naturally love and fear God, love and fear, world 3, world of formation, canal, as we've said above. So this is the amazing gift of loving and fearing, that when you love and fear, you spiritualize whatever the thing is you're doing because of that love and fear. Because again, it has so much power because it's really the reason why you're doing it, even though you thought of it afterwards. Like we thought of it afterwards, but it really came first. In our inner reality, it actually, of course, came first. And as we're saying, the love and fear is spiritual. The thing we're doing because of it ascends to that level of spirituality. It spiritualizes the Torah study, spiritualizes the prayer, and now it can be free of the constraints of the constriction of the tzimtzum, and it can ascend. It has the power. It has the muscles of spirituality, the muscles of these wings of love and fear to fly and soar. Can't wait to experience that this week. Now, what happens when it does ascend? Visham, and there, Meir u'Miskala or Insof Baruch Hu. At that point, it's shining, it's revealed, the infinite light of God. Shehu Ratzon Ha'elyon Baruch Hu. That is the will of God. Which is what's engarbed in the letters of Torah that he is currently learning, and in his intention, in his love and fear. Or if he's praying, in the letters of the words of prayer, and in his spiritual intention, his love and fear of God, which is the reason why he's praying. Why else would you be doing it? Or any service of God. It's not just when you study Torah or just when you pray. You're literally making a blessing before you eat. Why? I don't know, automatic pilot. But what created your automatic pilot? Why do you bless before you eat? Because there's a God, and you believe in a God. And this is what he wants you to do. And you want to do what he wants you to do because you love him. And you don't want to mess up if he wants you to do something because you fear him. So if it's Torah study, if it's prayer, if it's service of God, the core of why you're doing it is because you do love and you do. And therefore, whatever you're doing because of that love and fear, which you are now feeling because you're focused on it, will really ascend to that spiritual reality. And as we're saying, it will be revealed the will of God that's embedded in this action. Meaning, until now, we said it a bit differently. We said that the surface will ascend, the spiritual world, which is from where that love and fear originates. And in that spiritual world, it will fuse with the 10 attributes of that spiritual world, within which is deeper, until the very Ein Sof, infinite energy of God himself. That's all true. That's all happening. But now the Rebbe added another dimension to that. It's not only, and it was good enough, and we weren't thinking that was an only situation, but it's not only that right now, okay, I sure people are taking advantage because we're talking about love and fear this whole time. So please stop and feel it as we're right now studying God's Torah. So it's not only that the Torah you're studying now, and we're going to soon see, hopefully today, what's happening when it ascends, that it ascends all the way to the core godliness, we'll assume, of the third world, of the world of Yitzir, of the world of formation, and fuses with that core godliness. It's not only that. The Rebbe is saying that core infinite godliness is really buried within the commandment herself. In other words, a commandment means God wants something. A commandment is expressive of the will of God. So the fulfillment of the commandment is that now God's will is expressed, right? God wants you to pray. You pray because he wants you to pray. He has a will that prayers be said. You're praying. So your words of prayer are expressing his will that prayer should be said. Your eating kosher is expressing his will that a Jew should eat certain foods and not eat other foods. The mezuzah on your doorpost is expressing his will that in the home of a Jew, there should be these scrolls called mezuzahs on their doorpost. So every action of service, and again, when I say action of service, it doesn't have to be an action. It could be a thought, it could be a feeling, it could be a word. Any service of God is innately an expression of his will. That's what service is about. He wants, and we're doing. And our doing expresses his wanting. So that means embedded in whatever we're doing is will of God, is God's infinity, is what we call Ein Sof, the limitless power of God, which is his will. His will and his infinity, that's one. We said before, Torah, God's will, God's wisdom, God and his infinity, it's all one. So when we'll say Torah study, we're studying now, when my Torah study ascends, not only does it fuse with the 10 divine attributes of the third world of formation, which is the 10 divine attributes of the second world, within which is the 10 divine attributes of the highest first world, within which is the core infinite energy of God himself. That all happens. But beyond that, my Torah study herself reveals the infinity of God. The infinity of God is embedded in what I'm doing because what I'm doing is his will. And his will is expressive of that Ein Sof infinite energy. So both are happening. The infinity within the action can shine, and that action, that energy can fuse to ultimately be fused with the infinity of God himself. And both are happening. And actually, the infinity within the commandment is even stronger. It's literally his will. It's literally not or Ein Sof, it's Ein Sof. It's not the light of the infinity, it's the infinity. The infinity of God is within everything I do, think, say, feel. That's his service. And when the service ascends, that infinity within what I'm doing can shine. So can we imagine the power of what's happening when I'm serving with love and fear? So as I just read, I'll read it again now that we understand this concept. But Sham Meir Miskala Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu Shehu Ratzon Ha'elyon Baruch Hu Hamaluvash Be'osios HaTorah Shalom V'Kanasa V'Tfilah V'Kanasa V'Mitzvah Kanasa. So when that service ascends, because of the love and fear wings, there it's shining and revealing that infinity of God, which is the will of the God, which is embedded in whatever the service is. The Torah, her intention, the prayer, her intention, the commandment, her intention. The Ha'ara Gedola La'Ein Kates, infinitely. We're talking about Ein Sof, we're talking about infinite. So that shine, when it can finally shine, is an infinite shine. Masha lo yachol laha'ir l'skalos klal, which was impossible. That shine was not even a drop. When it was still in this physical world. Nothing. We're doing now, this second, we're studying Torah. There's so much power. There's the power of God's infinity, and we're not aware of a thing. Because nothing's peeking out of that disguise, that incognito. Nothing. Why? Because this world is finite. A finite world cannot sustain infinity. So every service of ours to God contains infinity, and it can never be expressed in this world. Not even a drop, because a drop of infinity is infinite. And this world can't tolerate infinity. Not now. By Mashiach it will. By Mashiach, the world will still be a physical world, and the physical will in no way block God. There'll be no blockage on infinity. But now it would really mess up the world. So we're creating infinity all day long, and we don't feel a thing, and we can't feel a thing, and this is a finite reality, so it cannot tolerate a thing. But when we spiritualize what we're doing by the wings of love and fear, then the infinity can be expressed. And it's infinite. It's real infinity. And that's the power in everything we're doing. It's not that the love and fear gave it the power of infinity. Everything we're doing has a power of the infinite. Because again, why do I have a mitzvah? Because God has a will for me to have a mitzvah. Sorry, I meant to say mitzvah. Why am I eating kosher? Because God has a will for kosher to be eaten. Why am I giving charity? Because God has a will for a Jew to give charity. Everything we're doing, thinking, saying, feeling all day long is because God has a will. And this is the embodiment of the will. So within this is God's infinity. That's without the love and fear, within this is the infinity. But with the love and fear, I'm spiritualizing the action that it can escape the bonds of physical, the bonds of corporeal, the bonds of a finite reality. It can ascend to the spiritual reality and be what she truly is. Let her light shine. And when her light shines, anything we do to serve God, the light that's shining is God's infinite light. Because everything is his will. That's why we're doing it. And within his will is always the infinite light of God. And all we need to do, to release it of its bondage, of its finite bondage, of its physical bondage, is feel that love and fear. This will enable it to soar, and then its infinite light will shine. Ad eight Yamin. So the Rebbe says, as I just said, I was saying it because, of course, I knew the Rebbe was going to bring this in, that now in this world, nothing doing. None of this infinity can shine, but we are very aided by the fact that we are doing something which shines above infinitely, as we will not discuss today. But when Mashiach comes, the end of time, when the world will escape its corporeal reality, when the world will be elevated, it will still be physical, but it won't be a physical that blocks God. The nigla kvod havaya v'goymer, and then the glory of God will be revealed in this world. Kanal barichas, as we learned above in the chapter of Mashiach 36, 37. At that point, what we're doing can be expressed, can be felt, can be seen in our physical world, which will be physical, but no longer finite. So we'll be able to absorb, without losing it, all the infinity of God created every time we serve him.